He says whenever we're ready.
Oh, shall we get started? Sure. Great. Good morning. On behalf of the Alliance of Ontario Food Processors, I'd like to thank you for joining us today as we share an exciting new report detailing the importance of the food and beverage processing industry and its critical contribution to the Ontario economy. My name is Craig Richardson. I'm the president of the Alliance of Ontario Food Processors and president of Grand River Foods in Cambridge, Ontario. I'll refer to the Alliance of Ontario Food Processors as the AOFP from this point forward. With me today is Steve Peters. Steve is our executive director, and I'm also joined by a number of our board members from the AOFP as well that we're delighted to have with us today. A number of us here came together approximately 10 years ago to form the Alliance of the AOFP, and our goal at that time was for the AOFP to serve as a united voice for this huge industry on issues of common concern and be a single point of contact for government. The AOFP currently has a membership of approximately 650 associations and companies, including the Alliance of Ontario Chicken Processors, the Baking Association of Canada, the Ontario Independent Meat Processors, the Ontario Dairy Council, the Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Processors Association, the Wine Council of Ontario, independent processing companies, and lots of affiliated businesses in Ontario. Our membership consists of small, medium, and large processors, and we're located throughout the province of Ontario. We're here today to release a report on the economic impact of the food and beverage manufacturing industry. And I can share with you, when we received this report, we were not surprised at the results. Let me share some significant facts with you that were derived from the report. It confirmed that Ontario's food and beverage manufacturing industry is in fact a $39 billion sector with an annual growth rate of 2% per year between 2005 and 2010. Now, keep in mind that through this same period, our province experienced a significant economic slowdown. So that kind of steady growth is quite remarkable in the face of a recession. Now, what this study also found in a benchmarking analysis comparing the food and beverage processing industry to other traditional Ontario manufacturing sectors, specifically electrical equipment, appliance and component manufacturing, and motor vehicle manufacturing, our sector showed a continued growth during the 5-year period of 2005 to 2010, while other industries declined. And I'll just refer to this easel over here indicating that, in fact, the red line is the food and beverage manufacturing sector showing a steady increase. As, for example, the motor vehicle manufacturing tumbled significantly during that same period and came back with a small, modest increase. The food and beverage manufacturing sector has not only survived, but in fact thrived during the economic downturn in Ontario the last several years. Ontario has long looked to the automotive industry to fuel our provincial economy, but it's clear that food and beverage processing is in fact the economic engine that drives it. We also believe that the growth that we've experienced as an industry can be sustained well into the future. And like other types of manufacturing, food and beverage manufacturing benefits from Ontario's unique position. Ontario has significant business and trade infrastructure and one of the most diverse agricultural sectors in the world. In fact, we produce over 200 different commodities here in Ontario. Geographically, Ontario offers direct connections to North American and world markets. Ontario's population is projected to experience healthy growth over the next 26 years, rising over 34%, or close to 5 million people, from an estimated 13 million in 2010 to roughly 18 million people by 2036. The demand for high-quality, safe, nutritious food manufactured right here in Ontario is going to increase along with that population growth. Our industry wants to ensure that we are in a position to capitalize on that growth. Based on these findings, it's likely that Ontario food and beverage processing sector will continue growing its exports and revenues at an average of roughly 1 to 3% annually over the next 5 years. The economic spin-offs for Ontario are huge. The Myers-Norris-Penny report that we're revealing today indicated that the total direct, indirect, and induced output generated by the food and beverage processors in Ontario contributed roughly $67 billion to the Ontario economy. Another significant data point is this. We are the largest customer of Ontario farmers. We buy roughly 2/3 of the food-related products that are grown on Ontario farms. We're buying locally raised and grown farm products to process for the world's consumers right here in Ontario. We like to say that this industry has now positioned Ontario to be North America's kitchen. It is my pleasure today to introduce to you Steve Peters, the former MPP and Speaker of the House here in Ontario, no stranger to this building, who is now the new Executive Director of the Alliance of Ontario Food Processors.
Thanks, Craig, and good morning. You know, I've long believed that the food and beverage industry provides a critical link in our food supply chain that begins at the farmer's plate and ends at your plate, farmer's gate and ends at your plate. And that's why I'm really excited to be the new Executive Director of the Alliance of Ontario Food Processors. The importance of the food and beverage industry to the Ontario economy has far too long flown under the radar screen, living in the shadows of the auto manufacturing industry. However, we in the industry have seen firsthand the tremendous growth, innovation, and job creation potential of the food and beverage sector. The one thing that is crystal clear, that if managed and supported properly, there are tremendous opportunities in food and beverage manufacturing. Every day, our food and beverage manufacturers are working on developing new, high-quality products that improve the health and the well-being of consumers. The Alliance decided that it was time, and long overdue, to engage a detailed economic impact analysis of the entire food and beverage processing sector. We chose MNP LLP, a leading Canadian accountancy firm with expertise in the agri-food industry. One of the strongest indicators of the importance to the Ontario economy detailed in the report is that the food and beverage processing industry directly employs over 126,000 Ontarians, making it by far the largest manufacturing employer in the province. In comparison, the auto sector employs about 30,000 Ontarians. Further, the spin-off effect of this industry is huge. It is estimated that direct, indirect, and induced full-time jobs here in the province of Ontario equal 325,000 of our citizens. With close to 3,000 establishments across Ontario, in both urban and rural communities, its impact touches every corner of this province, and it cannot be overlooked. From a government perspective, the food and beverage manufacturing sector directly contributes approximately $5 billion a year in tax revenue to the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. The finding of the report were not a surprise to anyone in the industry, but to some of you in the room and watching today, to consumers, to job seekers, and members of government, we hope that this is an eye-opener. We should no longer be living in the shadow of the auto industry, but rather recognized as a leading manufacturing sector in the province of Ontario. We've enjoyed a good relationship with our provincial and federal governments. Our industry has benefited from some significant investments, and when we've shown that we've been good stewards of that investment by generating economic growth and creating jobs. We are here today to make sure that our message of economic prosperity is heard. Our industry has a proven track record of investment and growth. We're here to tell a great success story in the province of Ontario. This industry is far more than the little engine that could. It is an engine that can and does and will continue to drive our economy. As several government initiatives are moving forward, particularly the Jobs and Prosperity Council and the Growing Forward 2 round, the federal-provincial program, we want to make sure that the food and beverage sector and its industry is on the top of the government's agenda. We believe that continued and increased investment into our sector will help to ensure its successful growth over the next decade and beyond. We look forward to working with our partners in government to ensure that our sector and the province as a whole continues to thrive. The next time you hear someone say that Ontario's economy runs on four wheels, you can point out that the Ontario food and beverage manufacturing industry is the engine that drives it. Thank you very much, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Steve, I'm just wondering if those last remarks were like a veiled reference to any asks that you might have of the government at this point? Like, is there anything specific you're?
Well, there's two things, Rob. One is the Jobs and Prosperity Council that has been created is charged with a number of responsibilities by the Premier. And one of the things that they're going to be looking at is a reprofiling of various government support programs. And what we're asking for is that, where we've seen the focus on auto and green energy in the past, and yes, there has been investments in the food industry, that we want to make sure that as this new fund is developed, that the food and beverage industry is recognized as an industry that is worth supporting, worth investing in, and in particular because we've demonstrated that we are recession-proof, that we've been able to weather the economic downturn in this province. Ontario, we're home to 40% of the food and beverage sector in all of Canada, and that with support of government, both provincial and federal, we can continue to be a good part of the economy. The other aspect is right now the federal and provincial agriculture ministers are meeting in the Yukon. And one of the things that they're going to be looking at is a program called Growing Forward 2. And what we're advocating for is that a significant component of those federal and provincial investments be dedicated to the food and beverage sector. Craig, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, that's terrific.
On Growing Forward too, some farmers have already expressed some worry at some cuts that are expected to come forward in Growing Forward too for business risk management programs. Do you have any sense of what might be in there for your industry?
Well, as we pointed out, as Craig pointed out in his comments, we are the farmer's best customer. 65% of agricultural production is further processed in this province, and the importance of business risk management programs certainly are recognized. But I think what we're saying is that we are a good customer for farmers, and a healthy and